We're back.
Hello. We are back. It's been a little while.
It's only really been like a month and a few days.
Has it? Feels like longer.
Well, to be fair, we did. What is up, Andy? We did go live on May the 4th, and it is May 28th. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks, yeah.
But aside from that, we haven't really recapped anything since the end of Mando season 3.
Well, there was nothing to recap, so.
Yeah. But now here we are, and we're getting ready for Ahsoka.
Yeah, we are.
And the best way to do so is to basically watch Rebels and
my favorite show.
Your favorite show. Yep. Yeah. We can't watch my favorite show. Just because a lot of what happens in Clone Wars is not going to be as relevant in Ahsoka versus so much of what's happening to Ahsoka and Rebels is it really does feel like ages.
It does feel like ages. It does. It's because we did it like every week.
Every week, and then we're just
bam,
like
bam, 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 bam. And then all of a sudden you don't do it for like 4 weeks in a row. You're like, it's been ages.
It's been ages. Like we're like walking in canes now. We're just like, oh my God, it's been so
I've been walking with a cane for years. My back.
God. It's been 84 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we're watching. We're now going to start our Rebels rewatch series. So basically, I mean, this is how we are coming up with this. We are going to watch the episodes in advance. We gave a schedule.
Listen. Before we start this, let's not start with this whole. This is how we did. I did nothing. Hands up. I've done nothing. Nat has done all of the work. Absolutely everything. Planned it all out and told me what to do. And I thank you for that because I suck at planning stuff. So it's all you. It's all you. And you've planned it out really, really well. So.
But I needed your approval, so it's technically your work too.
My approval. I just went, yeah, all right.
Well, I wasn't going to do all this and just like not tell you and not being like, hey, are you okay with
I would have been all right with it. I would have been like, yeah, all right, whatever.
But I honestly, since this is your favorite show, I had to consult you on a few things because so full disclaimer, we are not watching the entirety of Rebels because we do not have the time. I am so sorry, Jim. But what we are doing is I basically went through every single season and took out all the important episodes that we need to hit, the episodes that Ahsoka is in and not mentioned or not talked about, like actually in. And we only have 14 weeks to do it because if my sources are correct, Ahsoka should be premiering August 31st of this year, which is the last week in August, which is literally a week exactly after my birthday.
Nice.
Big sad because I wish it was on my birthday, but
hey, listen, I'm earlier in August too, so I get you.
I know we can both be sad about it. But yeah, so we both have the streaming rewatch schedules on our Instagram accounts.
We do.
This week is obviously week 1. And we're covering Spark of Rebellion, which is the first 2 episodes of Rebels season 1, which you can watch on Disney+. Don't think you can watch it anywhere else, thanks to Disney.
Definitely not. They're like, definitely nobody else is allowed this. This is ours. Yeah, it was interesting because obviously you sent me over the planned schedule, and I'm looking through it. And we had a chat about it, and I was just like, there's certain episodes that we're missing that I'm like, oh no. But there's a reason behind the episodes that we are watching and that we're missing out certain ones. Because there's always going to be elements of it where you're like, but I really want to watch this episode. Well, I can watch this episode, but it means nothing for the Ahsoka show. So there's no point in having it in there. I mean, I'm a little there are bits where I'm a little bit salty we're not dealing with it.
I know.
So, but I'll get over it. I actually think I know we're not going to have time to watch all of the episodes and review them all. I actually think I am going to watch the whole lot.
I believe that. Yeah. With me, I'm just going to watch what's on this.
I know. But I was like, I watched these 2 and I was just like, yeah, I just want to watch the lot.
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of tempted just to keep going, but then I would be like, oh crap, like what if I forget what happened in the first episode?
Yeah.
But yes, Andy's celebration happened, and then
Not just depression, but also my bank phoned me up and was just like, do you want to stop spending money or at least put some money in your bank account?
Yeah, and especially since I now don't have a job, which has been consuming up most of my time at the moment, has been applying and applying and applying for jobs because everyone and their mother is being laid off nowadays. It's actually really scary. But yeah, big sad about
that was really
beloved
sad.
Ray Stevenson. And we literally just saw him at Celebration.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out, and I remember because he came out, he sat down, and then all of a sudden I saw Dave do this. Because he knew that Rosario and Mary and them were pretty much my wifey.
Hey, it is.
That they were all media trained. I mean, not saying that Ray's not media trained, but like Star Wars, like press media trained, and it's really hard not to introduce yourself, tell you yourself who you're playing without releasing too many spoilers. So I remember Ray was just sitting there and he was just trying to be like, yeah, like I'm this person. Other than that, I'm just here for the fun. And he just seemed like such a great guy on stage. And he looked, I mean, if you watch the trailer, he looked really sick in the trailer. So I'm actually really excited to see him. And it is really sad that we no longer have him.
And he doesn't even get to see it, like,
and he doesn't even. Well, you know what? I'm pretty sure they've been previewed a few episodes. I'm pretty sure he probably did see his work, but it's not been like out in the world, like watching it live with the rest of the world.
That's the case. That's always the thing, isn't it? Seeing what the reaction is to your work as well. I think, and that's a shame. But I'm definitely looking forward to him and his character. So
excited. And the fact that he has an orange saber, and that was actually clarified at Celebration. They're just like, you're right, it is an orange saber. I'm like, okay, so everyone can just go. But now it's time for Rebels. And alas, like I mentioned earlier, we're starting off with season 1, episode 1, and parts 1 and 2, because it all kind of combines with Spark of Rebellion. Jim, do you want to start? Or
yes, I do.
Okay.
It baffles my mind when people are like, can get into Rebels, and I'm like, did you watch the first 2 episodes? Because these 2 episodes give you everything you could possibly want. Like, it opens with Vader.
It does.
It opens with Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, and you're like, what? Because, like, at that point, we'd never had Vader in animation at all. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, that's a big deal, you know? And then you get introduced to this Inquisitor that you don't know about. And then because of the time that it was at, like, you kind of getting introduced to this entire part of the story that we've not really seen before. And it's just like...
It's all very new.
It's all new because, like, obviously even Rogue One wasn't out then. So it's just this is the first time that era had not been touched. Sheena, I'm quite intrigued actually to hear Sheena's point of view of this.
Same, especially since she started watching it, and after she very much, if you were here on our May the 4th live stream, was like, I do not like animated stuff. And I'm just like, so I saw her Instagram story and she was watching Rebels. I'm like, oh, oi, Sheena.
Yeah. And that's just it. Like, you open up, and I think across both these episodes, it gives you beats of everything that you would want from Star Wars.
And it introduces so much new stuff too, because it also just dawned on me, since you're right, the show came out in 2014, and at that point, none of the sequels had existed. Rogue One didn't come out. What was very shocking is we were introduced to the first time I've ever heard the term ISB.
Yes.
Because now it's just because obviously, if you watched Kenobi, or if you watched Mandalorian, or if you watched or basically anything that has to do with the Empire era that's been live action, they mention ISB a lot.
Andor.
And even in Andor, yeah. Actually, that's mainly where you hear it is in Andor. Now that I think about it, love.
See, I told you would.
Yes. you do.
Which one?
I was about to say there's two.
Are you there yet? Which one?
But no, I like, so when they mentioned ISB, I'm just like, so this is the introduction that I just completely, it just went over. I guess if anything, it went over so many people's minds, because when I thought of General Callis or Agent Callis, I didn't think he was an ISB agent. I thought he just worked for the Empire generally.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And also, I think that was very much very similar to when in A New Hope, when like Kenobi mentioned the Clone Wars. People just go like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Like no one gravitates on that. And this is the same. It's like ISB. You're like, that's just a thing. But now you realize that's a big thing within
ISB
the Empire.
is a huge thing within the Empire, and like loved it when Vader rocked. Yes. But now if you're gonna really get to know Ahsoka, you kind of have to watch Clone Wars. Yeah. But you don't have to watch the movie nor the first season, in my opinion.
My favorite version of Ahsoka is the Rebels version.
And my favorite version of Ahsoka is the Clone Wars version. And this is why we are friends.
Yep. Also, this is why one of us is right and one of us is wrong. First, Saber with the blaster. I do enjoy that hill. I think it's something
that was unique. That was very unique saber.
Like
no one has that
staple gun.
It does.
I knew you would and that's just it. Those first two episodes, you're introduced to every character for the first season. Like everybody's there, but they do it in such a good way that you're literally just drawn in to the story. And I've said this numerous times before. Being that this was the first Star Wars that Disney had done, I was always quite like, how's this going to go? And for me, the music, okay, the animation is very different than the Clone Wars, very different than what we've seen before. But I personally really like the animation, and so I was drawn in by all of it. But the general feel of it feels very Star Wars. So yeah, that's when they released the first two together, because they would on Disney XD, which you mentioned earlier on. And as soon as they dropped, I downloaded them, and they didn't come out here for like a year. And I was hooked straight away. I was hooked. So
yeah, for those that are watching did not know, so Rebels came out back on Disney's old platform, Disney XD, which does not exist anymore. And if it does, it's in the Shadow Realm somewhere that's currently not here. I'm sorry, I was just watching Jim.
I know. I was like, she's got that from Spence.
And I literally have heard the term Shadow Realm literally 5 times within like the 10 minutes that I was watching. It's like going to the Shadow Realm. But yeah, so like it used to come out on Disney XD. It came out like just like how TV did back. I don't want to say back in the day because it really wasn't that long ago. But now streaming like has changed
it's
all
nearly
that.
10 years ago.
No, I'm talking about like how when just a few years ago we were still watching like every week we would turn on the channel to a certain network and it would be playing. But no, it's been over 10 years or close to 10 years since Rebels have been released. But now you can just watch everything on streaming and you can just binge it versus like waiting every single week to see it again and again and again. But no, the cool thing too is because a lot of times, like in Clone Wars, like yes, our main characters are Ahsoka, Anakin, Obi-Wan. That's our main characters there. But in Rebels, it's like they're all so different because they're all different species in a way. Like Sabine's a Mandalorian, and you can just tell based off her helmet, and you don't even see her face for the majority of episode 1. You just see her in her Mandalorian helmet, and you're just like, who is this young teen? Like what I felt like was a teenage girl with spunk and attitude, and just has all this flair. And then you have Hera, who's just literally a master pilot who like when I first saw her, I was just like, oh my god, she's just like Anakin when we first saw him with his pilot skills. And then you have Kanan, and he was just pretty chill. Like, he's not trying to show off that like he's, you know, macho, but he's very mysterious too. And then you got this big purple looking fluffy ball bear Zeb, who wants to always beat the hell out of Ezra and constantly in the episode. And then you have, and this is I think the most that was very changing for me, but we finally had a droid Chopper that's not like R2D2 or C3PO. Yeah. He was so different and had so much attitude. I'm like, this coming from a droid?
I love Chopper.
Chopper's awesome. I love how at Celebration, I don't know if you picked this up, but I love at Celebration, Filoni was like, yo, Chopper annoys the hell out of me. He's so annoyed with Chopper. But I think it's all with love, as you know, he created Chopper.
Yeah.
But no, I really do enjoy the first 2 episodes. And they're very much in tandem, and it kind of puts people, well, if anything, it got people really excited. I don't know if you felt this way, but since this was Empire era now, this was like years after the Clone Wars had ended, the Empire has pretty much established themselves all over the galaxy. This isn't like Bad Batch where they're just gaining momentum. This is like they're now established. They're going to they have settlements all over the galaxy. And they pretty much like, you know, have taken over.
They're completely and utterly in charge of everywhere. Now, obviously, when you look at it, it's crazy to think this, but Rebels is actually set at the same time as Andor.
I believe that, especially
it's exactly the same time. Andor season 1 and Rebels season 1 is 5 years BBY before the Battle of Yavin. So you do get to experience by Andor is almost like a companion piece to Rebels.
Because just a different story.
Exactly. It's just being told in a different place, because obviously
different story, but the same. So for example, like when you first see Kanan and them, they're not entirely, number one, we don't know of the rebellion yet.
No.
We just know that there's people out there rebelling against the Empire.
And they're
just, but with Andor, there is the establishment of the small group of them that is the rebellion trying to be bigger.
But that's what Andor is, and they are doing this to help this little pocket. That's how it all feels, but they're not part of it at the beginning, at least. And I find that quite fascinating. I find how they've managed to actually make 2 shows pretty much 10 years apart, set at the exact same time.
But I think that's also, and I was telling this to somebody the other day, I think that's still the beauty of what Star Wars is, because people always like to stay within the Skywalker saga and only care about the Skywalkers, but people have to remember that the galaxy of Star Wars, the expanded universe of Star Wars, was created because there is so much happening in the universe of Star Wars while the Skywalker saga is happening. Like, yes, while Luke and Vader are fighting on Endor, there are shit happening on other planets. There are other species, there's other people, there's like, you know, politics going on. Like, everything has to make sense. You're literally making a galaxy, a whole universe alive. So there are so many untold stories to tell. And, you know, that's kind of why I am really excited for all the new upcoming films. Hopefully they don't get scratched and, you know, taken over by AI, because that's over. This is a side rant, but if for those watching, you have no idea what's going on in the film world or the film industry, all the writers are on strike right now, and we've been on strike. They've been on strike since May 1st, and essentially, what a writer strike means is like all writers put their pens down. They're not touching anything. They're not writing anything. They're not writing for work. If they're writing letters to themselves to be like, when am I going to get paid again? But pretty much a lot of productions are shut down. A lot of movies have halted production. A lot of shows have stopped production. AKA Andor is one of them. Andor has paused production. Deadpool 3 is happening, but unfortunately, they're not making any revisions to it. And now there are studios threatening to use AI to write scripts. So what scares me is that Star Wars shows will be written with artificial intelligence versus the writers that we've been blessed with for so many years. And it's just
when it comes
terrifying.
to something like Star Wars, I don't think they can, because there's too many interconnecting things.
But you know, some of these studios could literally bypass it and literally say not give you. They would not care.
For sure. I think the backlash when it comes to Star Wars, I think, would be huge.
That's why I want a lot of people to be up and rising and getting upset and just telling the studios like stop being stupid and pay your writers.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's what I'm praying that doesn't happen to the new upcoming movies, because I would really like to see a really good story of 25,000 years before Phantom Menace and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, back to Rebels.
So we get nicely introduced to the team of the Ghost.
And the most important planet, Lothal.
And we also do get introduced to Agent Callus, who has one of the best story arcs like ever. Like his arc from beginning to end, we'll get to his end, is just fantastic.
Beautiful.
And there's elements of it that they should have used in Rise of Skywalker, but let's not get into that right now. But the introduction of the team is really, really well done. It's not a huge heist that they're doing or anything. They're literally just stealing a few crates of things. And obviously Ezra gets involved, and that's how the entire team meet. But it instantly gives you everybody's position, like everywhere everybody stands. And you're like, okay, so Hera and Kanan are essentially mum and dad. Like Sabine is clearly your ballistics expert. She loves to blow stuff up. Zeb's your muscle. Chopper's your droid. Ezra's your new addition.
Yeah, and Ezra, he joins the team. Number one, obviously, when you first see Ezra on the planet, he's so used to stealing stuff to survive. Like he's a kid that's been abandoned, like it's an orphan essentially, and he
Wow. That happened. Are you back? I can see you.
No.
I'm not entirely sure what's going on. So I will talk about... Hello?
Are you back?
I'm here.
This is so weird. Yeah, oh Lord, I really hope this doesn't happen again. Oh my God, that would suck, man. Sorry about that. It says that my Wi-Fi's shaky, but I looked at my router and it's at full capacity, so I don't.
Something's just interfering.
Yeah. Fuck you, interference. But I was going back and saying that Ezra is basically this kid that's orphaned on this planet, and so he steals to survive. Like he goes and he helps out. Like he took the comm link from the Imperial guy and was just like, hey, there's this shit happening over there, just so they, the Empire doesn't arrest and harass this, this poor guy just trying to sell, what is it, Jobo?
Can't remember. It's not. I know it's not Maloo runs.
No, it's purple, and I think it's Joji berries or Joji fruit or Jogan fruit or something like that. And so he there's a part of Ezra that wants to help, that really wants to give back, but the same very selfish. He thinks about for himself and only himself. And I think for the first time when he sees Kanan and his team, he's just like, wow, you guys actually go and help people.
And for why?
And for why? Because then Hera gives him the reality check of like, well, if you're only serving yourself, you're not living. Yeah. And I thought that was very powerful, Because I think about that right now. I'm just like, yeah, if you are only serving yourself, if you're being selfish, like, what's the point of living your life when you could be living to serve other people, like helping people, making a difference? And this is only episode 1.
Yep.
Episode 1 is Rebels. But yeah, so he joins the team and he gets he finally sees, I guess, for the first time what a team does look like.
Yeah.
To help people.
And even more so a family.
A family. Especially when and to see what they do, because at first he literally just thought they were just stealing shit. Steal shit. Because they open the crate and they see all the machine. He goes like, this is my crate. Like, you guys are stealing this. And then they go to another part of Lothal, which Ezra had never been to, because once again, we see this in Star Wars where you could live on that same planet your entire life, but not leave the city you have been in.
Just stay in the same
place. And so Ezra has never been to the other side of Lothal, not knowing that this place existed. Tarkin land is what they referenced it as.
Yeah.
And they're there to not only, Kanan and Hera do their little deal with was Vizago?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sounds like that. And I'm gonna get probably like chewed out for it in the comments. So by all means, if Matt's here, please correct me. Matt's watching. But then, they go and bring the other crates to the people and give them food. And that's where Ezra's just like, oh my God, like, I didn't do anything. But to the people of Tarkin land, they're seeing him as like a savior almost, because he has food to help, to help them.
And they even say thank you to him. And he's like, I didn't do anything. Yeah. It's very cool. Like, immediately, like, you're in and you're like, okay, so they're not just for themselves, they're actually here helping. So what else is going on, and
what else am I missing is what he's
I really like that about this. I mean, obviously we've skipped over it, but the Ghost is my favorite ship, hands down. The Ghost is so cool. It's
such a cool ship. And I think what is really once again, it's one thing we see in Star Wars with different classes of ships, is that each of them kind of have their own unique ability. Mm-hmm. Like Hera, I think, has been able to manufacture the Ghost to switch signatures every single time they leave Imperial. Cass!
Hey, my love.
But then what's also really cool, and I think we just we start seeing it for the first time, is that you hear a hum that Ezra can hear. And to, beloved Star Wars fans that are very familiar with Jedi, what hum this is. And I guess it's just hinting from episode 1 that Ezra has an ability that he himself doesn't know, but Kanan can sense it.
Yeah.
Because obviously by the end of episode 2, he has now publicly shared that he's a Jedi. And Ezra's just trying to figure out what this hum is and why is it calling to him? Why is it telling him to come here? Why is it telling him to go somewhere that he's very uncomfortable going to? And then all of a sudden he goes to Kanan's room, sees the holocron, which the first thing he thinks of is like, oh, this piece of junk, I'm just going to take it. It's probably worth something. Not even knowing what it is.
No, I know.
But we're all here just like, you're just going to up and take it. Okay. And then he sees Kanan's lightsaber, which I think is pretty unique, because I've never, prior to Kanan's, I don't think I've ever seen a lightsaber that you need to click into place for it to turn on.
And it didn't exist.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh.
It's his way to hide the fact that he's a Jedi, but constantly have his saber with him. It's awesome. I love that lightsaber.
It's a really nice lightsaber. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Kanan, he obviously like turns it on, and I think that was a really cool moment. Like, he first turns it on, and then Kanan's just like, "You're gonna chop your arm off with it."
Yeah.
And I do love how like Hera is kind of like nudging to Kanan, being like, "You have to let him like figure it out. Like, don't get so mad at him." And then he just like I think what was it? They get taken by the Imperial ships.
So they think that there's a bunch of Wookiees on a cruiser, and they go to it, and it turns out it was a trap.
It's a trap.
Even though they managed to pretty much all get away, Zeb leaves Ezra behind, which is not very nice.
No. And I mean, at that point, I think also it shows the crew humility. It shows, I guess it shows them the side that unfortunately you see in battle. Like sometimes you have to sacrifice one to save all. And to Zeb's like, well, we're dropping off this kid anyway back at the planet Lothal.
Exactly.
He's not part. He's expendable. We're not taking him after this. Like, sorry, kid. Like, you're gonna be fine because you're a kid. They're not gonna kill you. They're probably gonna like reprogram your brain and then send you to work.
Fine.
Because to him, he's just like, yeah, that's great. Completely against their actual like their values.
Yeah.
And it's just, and then of course Zeb goes back. Hera's like, where's the kid?
Where is he?
Where is he? And he goes like, I thought he was with you. And then it's like, Zeb, and then gives the full name. He goes, I don't know his full name now because I remember seeing it. I'm just like, if you ever heard your full name being called as a child, you knew you were in trouble.
It's Garazeb Aurelius.
Oh, yep. And Hera's full name like a mom would.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And we're just like, what did you do? And he was like, I thought we were just leaving him after. And then they go and rescue Ezra. But Ezra's sneaky and smart. That's, I think that's also something that's very unique and very different from what we see in Star Wars characters. Like, he's already like light years ahead of like just got some type of intelligence when it comes to even with the troopers.
Yeah.
Like,
because essentially, like, he's probably known this most, if not all, of his life. And so he's gotten to the point now where he's adept at keeping out of the way. He's adept at disappearing and, and taking stuff. So, like, we have the scene where he tricks stormtroopers, although stormtroopers are idiots. But right before that scene, he actually uses the Force for the first time.
And it wasn't like doesn't even know. He's literally like, he's taking a breath, he's breathing, which, if you want to get into full on meditation mode, that's whatever this first step any Jedi tells you to do. It's just like, just breathe and reach out. And then all of a sudden, like, the holocron opens and it's our beloved Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it's actually for the first time seeing Kenobi since Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. But at this point in time, Clone Wars Season 7 hasn't even existed yet. So this is the first time we're seeing Kenobi Order 66 era time animated.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing him. And I think this is kind of where, if you are a very diehard Clone Wars fan, Rebels animation kind of, you bat heads with it because Kenobi looks so different compared to what we see him.
I mean, we'll get to him later, but Anakin looks completely
rough, man.
Yeah.
He'd be looking rough, but it's just because it's a completely different animation style for Rebels. So I get that. Even with Ahsoka does look different.
Very.
Season 1. So yeah, and then he opens up the holocron, realizes this, and also Ezra's probably one of the kids that probably was told all the Jedi are dead. They don't exist anymore. So he opens up this, not knowingly opens up a holocron and sees, Kenobi saying, I regret to inform you that do you have it? I mean, I have a holocron too, but I think I want to hear yours more than anything.
I do believe.
If you don't have a thing in there, it's just Kenobi.
Yeah,
This
but
is Master Obi-Wan Kenobi.
but it's exactly
I regret to
that.
report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen, with the dark shadow of the Empire rising to take their place.
Oh, I
Stunning.
got chills.
Yeah. So until I watched that today, I actually didn't put those two things together, that it's actually that from Rebels. I was just like, I remember it's one of those vague, hazy memories. I'm like, where's it from? And so today when I saw that, I was like, that's where it's from.
Well,
which is probably why, actually. So this one and the Sith one, when they join together, it becomes the Bogan. And so obviously this is very Rebel centric, this holocron. All the holocrons are, apparently.
Yep.
So there we go.
Yeah, so fun fact, if you ever go to Hollywood Studios or anywhere in Disney and you buy yourself a holocron, if you don't have a card book crystal in there already, it'll be James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is very important because now that Ewan has reprised his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi, people will just be like, no, it should be Ewan. I'm like, nope. For the longest time, ladies and gentlemen, who voiced Master Obi-Wan Kenobi animated has been our beloved James Arnold Taylor.
Yep.
So yeah, he opens up the holocron, and basically the troopers come in, and they're so dumb. But then again, troopers are dumb because once again, they're not clones, and they're not. Yeah.
I want to be in the room where that person went, I think we should change the clones into just normal people. You can control the clones.
We see that in Bad Batch. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know, but like,
then that requires you to rewatch Bad Batch.
Who thought it was a good idea to be like, let's replace these highly trained military, like proven, like people that we can potentially, like they probably need to do it again, but we can control, to this bunch of morons here that couldn't hit a fish in a barrel.
Whoever was underneath Tarkin.
Yeah, but why?
It's a great question. That is a great question.
Why would you do that? Why would you be like, let's replace them with these idiots?
It's all part of Palpatine's plan, apparently.
Apparently so.
But yeah, I mean, Ezra was very smart. He outsmarts the troopers. He manages to find himself into the equipment room and puts on basically a cadet's helmet, but a trooper helmet. And since all cadet and trooper helmets are linked to the same comm system, he's already listening to all the plans that they're doing with the Wookiees. And he's just, at first, he was just like, why am I giving a crap about this? But then he realized that was the mission that Hera they're all trying to go. So he remembers that and essentially tries to find his way out of there, and then quickly realizes like, oh shit, they're coming for me.
Yeah.
Cause it was, I don't know how you felt like this, but this was like a very much like moment for the troopers when Agent Callus is going like, what's going on, trooper? And they're just like, well, the prisoner's gone. And he's just like, well, what do you mean they're gone? And they're just like, he's not here anymore. And he goes like, did the team already come? And he goes, no, he just left. And he goes,
no, that's a problem.
I know, like, you guys are morons. It's like you get Brad and Chad from like some fraternity being like, I don't know, bro. Like they were here, and now he's not here. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Open the door.
Now they're gone. I was like,
listen, I'm clocking off, so I'll see you later.
It's like, you see, my shift ended 5 minutes ago, so I'm just telling you the information so you can handle this yourself, dude. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
It was gonna be very much that, but I literally I literally did this because I was just like, you guys are idiots. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Team Ghost does come back because they're just like, they're not assholes. Thank goodness. And Zeb's like, I really do feel bad.
Yeah, as you should.
As you should, dude. You're the one that left him.
You also then punch him in the face. So
do you see him? And he goes,
he drops in front of him, and he's like, "Hey!" And then he's like, he pauses for a second, and then just knocks him out. And I'm like,
and he's just like, "What
you
the
could tell it was him."
Right. And I was just like, I'm like, it's not like he was fully in the cadet outfit. He just had the helmet on. He goes like, you were wearing a clanker helmet. Like, it looks the same. And I'm like, but his clothes are so different.
Yeah. You literally saw him like half hour ago.
Literally, yeah.
You know what he was wearing.
Exactly. And then of course Sabine being our ballistics expert, and just overall like very, if anyone has like also hidden intelligence, it has to be Sabine, because she can just know what to do, how to do it very fast.
Mandalorian, isn't it? That's where that comes from. Like, that's their thing. That's their entire cult, if you wish. So she's a great addition to that team. And you know, obviously it was the first time, because we'd had Mandalorians before, but it's the first time like you had a Mandalorian sort of out on their own, doing their own thing. That wasn't a bounty hunter.
Because I guess the last time we really did see the Mandalorians is during Clone Wars, when Satine and Obi-Wan were on Mandalore, and it was very much...
They're very much a military for the planet.
Military for the planet only. Death Watch existed, but nothing past that. Like, we didn't see them going off world. I mean, I get no lies. I guess lies. There was, but was Jango Fett ever considered a true Mandalorian? Because he did have Mandalorian armor.
He was. I want to say yes. Wasn't Jango a foundling?
I don't know.
Jango Fett was still a bounty hunter.
He was still considered. He was working as a bounty hunter, but he was also in full Mandalorian gear.
Yeah,
so that's kind of like, wait, is he a Mandalorian? Is he of the people of Mandalore? Is he one of those people that, you know, killed somebody, took their armor, and just kind of rocked it? So it's very like, big question mark. Yeah. But that's like, aside from that, that's kind of like the only Mandalorian we do see just traveling around. Well, after Mace Windu kind of him, you don't really see that happen, but Sabine's like the first, aside from who we already know. So she's very new. She's like that new Mandalorian that's kind of doing her own thing, but with a different team.
Yes, very much so. Then, like, Ezra's there, and he's like, I know what the plan is. I know what they're going to do. I know where they're going. Have you heard of the Mines of Kessel? And every Star Wars fan everywhere went, yay!
No, they're just like that. There's like that moment from I forget which movie that Leonardo DiCaprio was in, but then he has his cup and goes.
It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, that one, yes.
Yeah. And so they're like, okay, well, we're going to there, but the problem is, Agent Callus is presented with a helmet that obviously Ezra is wearing, and realizing that he was on the comms, and so that's where they're gonna go. So basically they chip off to the Spice Mines of Kessel, and a small battle ensues until Callus and his whole team get there. And then it becomes quite a big job trying to like save all these Wookiees. And they're sitting there and it's all shooty, bang, bang. And they're all like hiding out, and they're trying to save these Wookiees. And that's when Kanan's like, kid, I'm about to let everybody in on the secret. Takes off his two.
Well, he first tells Hera, he goes, is it something box 22? Or he says like a code to her.
Yeah.
To let her know. And then he's like, kid, I'm about to let everyone know the secret. Ka-town! Kafune!
And then just goes full on Jedi.
And what's crazy is that all these people in the Empire have never seen a Jedi in a very long time. They were just like, because even Agent Callus was just like, shoot at that. And they didn't want to say it because they didn't want to admit that they were more, because they were under the impression that they had executed every single Jedi. So there he was just like, execute that Jedi. And then once it's fully out there for the world to know, Kanan goes all out. And then, of course, Zeb tries to rally all the Wookiees into the crater. And then Ezra's like, wait a minute, but Kit Raff just went over there and I got to save my little homie. So he goes and he does that. And I think this is where I really laughed. If you guys have watched the episode, you know what I'm talking about. But so Ezra gets to Kit Raff. Obviously, Ezra flings him with his little wrists, doohickey, and then one trooper falls out. And I'm thinking this guy is like on the way to the Shadow Realm on the ground. And then
also it's the Wilhelm scream as well that they used. They like to throw that in.
Yep. I know, I heard it. I'm just like, that's very familiar.
Yeah.
And then Agent Callus goes like, you have nowhere to run, master and apprentice. Of course you guys are together. And Ezra's like, I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
Yeah.
He's like, you are out of your mind. And then, of course, Kanan goes and shoots him, and Callus falls off, but they're all holding on to this, like, apparatus. And so the trooper is holding on to, and he goes, is that your first time fighting a Jedi too, sir? And then
he just kicks him in the face. Just kicks him off. Kills him. Just murders him. He's just like, yeet. I'm like, what? That's not okay.
It was so funny. Oh,
like, that guy's just fallen off, and he's like, wow, thank God I managed to hold on. And then he gets kicked in the face by his superior.
And he's thinking about it. It's like, you know what? This could have been an even worse day. But I'm holding on, and all of a sudden, superior
it's all good.
and dead. Like, it's not even going back to his barracks tonight. Like,
no.
And so that made me laugh. But then they save Kit Raff. They make a jump for light speed. And I think the one thing that sometimes happens in Star Wars, I can never understand it. But it's like they rescue somebody. And obviously, I thought they were just going to deliver them to Kashyyyk or to wherever planet they needed to go. But then all of a sudden, a Wookiee ship just shows up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did you come from? And why are you attached? Like, is this a part of the rest of your people that just found you, and then we're just like, hey, we're looking for like lone Wookiees? Or is this something they legit just?
I mean, I felt like it was part of the plan.
No, because I thought that all the Wookiees were or like all the Wookiees that had fought in the Clone Wars were all captured.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. So that's probably the ship that showed up was not all the Wookiees, but.
No, there was still some. I think they mention it as well, like, that they're trying to hunt for them all. And so there's still Wookiees about, but obviously not as many. And so I think the plan was always to drop them back with a Wookiee ship.
It was just so random when I finally saw them. I'm just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they just
how'd you get there?
Just like, and also, why didn't you save them? You're a lot bigger, But
right.
Hey, you know what? It's got to be done.
Yep.
Otherwise, there's no episode.
Right. You need to have something in there. But then, like, Kit Raff and his dad get reunited, which is, I think another moment for Ezra to see what kind of the work that I like to call him Team Ghost at this point. That Team Ghost like to do is. This is what fighting against the Empire means, is reuniting family, saving people so they can have a better tomorrow. And Ezra's seeing this for the first time, firsthand. And he's just like, goes back to what Hera told him. If you're fighting for yourself, you shouldn't be living. But if you fight for others, your life has purpose. And so now he's just like, my life has purpose because I was a part of... even though when they went to the other side of Lothal and handed the food to the people, he felt like he didn't do anything firsthand.
Yeah.
But this time he did something firsthand.
Yeah.
And he reunited a son with his father, and that made him, realize this rebellion, this cause has a greater meaning, and maybe he should stick around. But shortly after that, they're just like, well, kid, it's time to bring you back to Lothal.
Yeah, got it.
And he's just like, yeah, Yay, Lothal.
Yep. Then nicely pickpockets Kanan
Always.
and steals his lightsaber. And then as he's leaving, Kanan's like, "You've got something that belongs to me," and he throws in the holocron.
That's turned on.
It's turned on, and as Ezra's running away, Hera's like, "He opened it. He passed the test." And so then we get that shot of him in his. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, right? He's a kid on his own, and he's living in that sort of massive, like
Flat. It's a nice flat.
Beautiful views. I'm like, that's not that bad.
And
like,
you know what? Probably for free.
Yeah,
for free.
Exactly.
In this economy, for free.
Safe, probably very warm. But he stood there looking at the saber, and Kanan comes behind, and he's like, "Listen, you can keep the lightsaber if you want and make it another one of these trophies collecting dust, or you can come with me and you can learn the ways of the Force. I'll let you decide." And then Kanan walks off. And that's the thing I like about Kanan as well, is he doesn't force people, if you'll excuse the pun, to like do that. He's like, "Listen, this is your path, you pick it. But just so you know that if you do pick it, there's things that are going to happen." And they're all kind of hanging out in the Ghost, pretty much ready to go. And then Ezra rocks up, gives him back his saber, and you're like, "This is it. This is where it all begins." And it's just 2 incredible episodes. I really see it as one episode because it is 2 parts.
It is 2 parts.
But
because sometimes it's really hard to, especially when you have an animated show like that, sometimes it's really hard to fit one storyline like that in just one episode because of time constraints, and sometimes
especially like a pilot of a brand new show as well. So it does make sense that it was split into 2, but I always saw it as just kind of
one
long episode. Probably now, if it was redone now, like it would have been just the first episode, the whole thing.
I also think it probably would have been a little bit longer because also Rebels came out during the time when it was just airing on TV. It wasn't fit for streaming versus like, Bad Batch. We've gotten episodes that were 27 minutes long, 20 minutes long, 30 something minutes. It just varies nowadays. Yeah. But since they were just fighting for that time slot on Disney XD, you got all the episodes are pretty much the exact same.
I mean, they're all 22, 23 minutes, aren't they?
Nothing more than that.
Nothing. So, I mean, the fact that they actually managed to, I think the writing is so good in it that they're able to tell such succinct stories in that amount of time. That's quite incredible, to be able to put that much heart, that much story, and that much lore into what is essentially 45 minutes. Like, you've hit on everything in that episode. You've hit on the Clone Wars, you've hit on the Jedi, you've hit on the current Empire, you've kind of like, they even speak about the Republic a little bit, you've spoken about the Wookiees. Like, there's all of these different things that it manages to all hit in this very short space of time. And that's for me what I love about it, because it always feels so well written that nothing goes, like, because they weren't able to, but nothing ever feels like it goes too long.
I think it also, what I love about the show, and it's something I think why one of my favorite characters out of Rebels is Ezra, is because we see the beginning of his Jedi journey off the bat. And what's crazy is that he's not aware of it.
Yeah.
What he does and what he's doing is Jedi Force abilities, like him jumping with the crate to the Ghost. Kanan's just like, whoa. But to us, we're just like, that's him using the ability to Force jump.
And then, at the end, where he jumps over the stormtrooper as well.
When he goes over that, that's another Force ability that a Jedi can do. And to him, it's natural. But he's not realizing and putting 2 and 2 together. He goes like, oh, wait a minute. This is what Jedis can do. Yeah. And it's more like, obviously, with Clone Wars, pretty much when we meet Ahsoka's already established as a Padawan. She already has her abilities. when we meet Rey in the Skywalker in the sequels trilogy, her Jedi journey is only shown throughout the sequels, and that's it. So literally, she goes from 0 to 1,000 really fast. She goes from zero to being able to control Trooper TK.
Oh yeah, for sure. And to be able to like push back against Kylo Ren.
Oh, exactly, like this. But whereas Ezra, we see his journey
which is interesting
from the beginning.
Yeah, you're right. We see it from the beginning, but also like if you go back a bit further, like they even deemed young Anakin too old to begin the training, and you're like, how young do you have to be? And like obviously we know
literally babies.
Like
they take them as babies. Like they literally take the kids as, at least if anything, they're not nowhere more than 2 years old.
Yeah,
because at least I think they're at least past the 1 year.
Because that's when you have to start indoctrinating them. Because let's be fair, the Jedi, as much as I love them, it's just a massive cult.
Massive cult.
Yeah.
And they don't want you to have attachments. They don't want you to remember your parents. They don't want you to remember any of that. They're just like, parents,
what's that?
Like, what's that, man? Like,
Master
I don't know.
and Apprentice, that's all you need to worry about.
That's all you need to know. Yeah. But yeah, so like with Ezra, Ezra's probably one of the few characters in Star Wars we get to see his journey from the beginning to pretty much the end of Rebels. And it's just really cool because we don't get to see that, and he's just sometimes very oblivious to his abilities. For sure. And it's very like as a viewer, you know what it is, but as the character, he has no idea what he's doing.
No, that's right.
And it's just the beginning of a great series, and that's pretty much Spark of Rebellion episode 1, part 1 and 2. And next week, so like Jim and I mentioned earlier in the stream, since there are so many Rebels episodes and not enough time to get this rewatch series before Ahsoka, the next episodes we're covering, so for next week, which will actually be on Saturday, not Sunday, same time, Saturday, 4 p.m. EST, 9 p.m. GMT from our friends out there in the UK. We'll be covering episodes 5, 8, and 9. And the only reason why we're covering 8 and 9 is because, once again, they're kind of combined with each other in some way. But we're just basically hitting all the most important episodes of seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we do unfortunately have to skip. If you're Jim, he's gonna watch it anyway. If you want to be like Jim, watch it all.
Also, I would just say you've just said the most important episodes, and I'm like let's add a caveat to that. The most important episodes that will lead us into Ahsoka, because I'm just saying it now. We're not touching on the Darth Maul episodes.
No.
And personally, I think that's a travesty. But I'm finishing.
Okay.
I understand why we're not, because it doesn't relate to the Ahsoka show, and that is why we're doing this rewatch. It's less about the. I'm going to watch them anyway.
No. I was saying, because we had the conversation before that what we could do is do the Obi-Wan.
Well, yes, I was going to come to that next. Yeah.
You're taking a very long time to get there, sir.
All right, Chatty McGee. Sorry. So we're not going to hit those episodes in this rewatch, but Nat did have a very good idea that once this is done, and obviously this is going to lead us straight into Ahsoka, so obviously we'll be doing Rebel Base Radio reviewing and talking about Ahsoka every week from that. But after that, I think it would be very cool, or what Nat said would be very cool, is to go back and pick certain characters and delve into their arcs through everything. And Darth Maul is a great character for that, because he pretty much hits almost every single different thing that you can imagine. And every single different medium too, because he is... We see him obviously in Phantom Menace. We see him in Clone Wars. We see him again in Rebels. We see him in Solo. Yeah. So it's kind of like he has pretty much hit the mark on, like, within the last, I'd say since 99. So almost
we're getting to 30 years of Star Wars content. So probably after Ahsoka, we'll most likely will dive into the Darth Maul arc, which would cover everything
All
Darth
those
Maul.
things. Yeah. And then, and then after that, it's picking and choosing what we do, whether or not we do like a specific bounty hunter thing, maybe a Cad Bane or, something like that. Because
Skeleton Crew also comes out at some point in the year. So
yes, that's true. I forgot about that. So that's what we're going to do. So whilst we are jumping certain episodes in this, we're not saying that those aren't good episodes. I would say that there are no bad episodes in Rebels.
You can binge watch it all, but I'm just telling the people now on our schedule. Next week, we'll be covering Rise of the Old Masters, which is episode 5. So if you want to write it down, we do have it on both our accounts, like I mentioned it earlier. Empire Day and Gathering Forces. So that is episodes 5, 8, and 9. I think we know more about Maul than we do about Vader. True. But I personally think that I've met many people that have literally said, don't touch Vader. They literally said, do not touch Vader. Don't stay. Keep away from Vader. Like, let Vader be. Because I think they're very protective of Vader. But they're just like, Maul, just throw him in. Because also I think Maul is a more complex character than Vader is.
Oh, I agree. He goes through
that's just my opinion. He just goes through a way more than Vader does.
Yeah.
Not saying that Vader doesn't go through a lot. He does. But Maul, Maul gets gutted so many times throughout shit happens to him because he's the villain.
Yeah.
Like he's set up to, it's funny because Freddie Prinze Jr. actually did say this in an interview when he was saying like, Star Wars is for like, the original trilogy is for kids back in the 80s. The prequels is for the kids in the 90s. Like the sequel trilogy is for the kids now. And he literally says it like Maul is a character that's set up to fail.
Yeah. Like
it's textbook. And he literally said, those are George Lucas's words, not mine. I'm just repeating the words that he told me. If anyone has ever seen that rant that he goes on, I find it hysterical. But yeah. Oh wait, just Vader, not Anakin. That's what I'm saying. Like, even people don't want Vader to be touched.
Vader's a difficult character to deal with as well because there are parts of Vader's story that are only told in comics. And some of those comics are canon and some of them aren't. And so it does. And the same can go for Maul. But I think Maul is definitely fleshed out more in the visual medium, whereas Vader definitely has a lot of like. You could even go to like the Revenge of the Sith book, and the Lord, what's it? It's not Lord Vader. It's the book, the Dark Lord, that comes straight after Revenge of the Sith, and that's canon, and that goes into a lot more Vader. See you, Sheena. So, there's a lot of Vader that is not the visual medium. And so it's not as easy to kind of go through all of his bits. Whereas Maul, yeah, sure, he has some books. A lot of his books are not canon anymore. But most of the stuff we've seen from him has been in either a TV show or a movie. So mostly TV shows at this point. And he's more of a TV show character than he is a movie character.
Because what I think the beauty of Vader is that he can come in, do his little stuff, and then pop right out. Because at the end of the day, for example, I remember being on live with people, and they were just like very overprotective of Vader. So if they were to do a show on Vader, granted, it probably would be an amazing show, but sometimes we get those people. We get shows that are up to par. Sometimes they're like what we're not expecting, and unfortunately doesn't hit the mark. And I think that's what people are afraid of, is like they don't want the show to then fail and then Vader gets ruined for them, kind of. But but yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode of Rebel Base Radio. I'm glad to be back, Jim.
Me too. Yeah, for sure.
It's great chatting Star Wars again every single week.
Yeah.
You want else? Do you feel like we covered everything?
I think we've pretty much covered everything. I do want to say, if there's anybody out there that loves the Rebels as much as we do, and fancies jumping on with us at some point, by all means, drop us a message, and it'd be nice to have somebody else's views and stuff on it too. So yeah, we're always open to having some extra peeps.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But yeah, next week is will be back over on my channel, I think.
Yeah, no, it is on your channel.
Yeah. And so so join us then on Saturday.
Guys, on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday, 4 p.m. EST, 9 p.m. GMT. We'll see you then. May the Force be with you, and as always, we'll see you on the next one.